London Uncovered. As we are moving on to a new episode, and today we are talking about achieving lasting change. Yes, we want it so badly, and yet achieve it so rarely. So why is behavior change so hard? Behavior change is complicated and complex because it requires a person to disrupt a current habit while simultaneously fostering a new, possible, unfamiliar set of actions. This process takes time, usually longer than we prefer. Most of the time, changing behavior is so hard because our actions and goals do not line up. It sounds simple because it is, but only in theory. Fixing the misconceptions, however, usually takes some diligence and hard work, as well as a clear, set goal. Can people really change, comes the question. Yes, they can, but it requires a lot of hard work and opening to new experiences. A well-rounded behavior change plan created personally for each individual, making achieving behavioral goals more readily attainable. Here are 6 stages shown by the experts that can help. 1. Pre-contemplation. We are often unaware of a psychological self-sabotage. Stage 2. Contemplation. Here a person becomes aware that they could benefit from changing behavior. Stage 3. Preparation. And that is taking action to begin work towards a goal. Stage 4. Action. This is the part of the behavior change plan where you begin to see results. Stage 5. Maintenance. At this point, you have been performing the action of behavior change for a significant amount of time. You are getting the results you hoped for, and the means to get there have become normal for you. Stage 6. Relapse and prevention. Sometimes unexpected triggers can come out of nowhere and throw a wrench in your behavior change plan. It's something to be prepared for and to be constantly aware of. No wonder lasting change begins with the truth, begins in a community, and begins when we take positive action. And to make sure you want the positive results, take it one day at a time and one step at a time. So let's go and see what people have to say about it. Tell us, why is lasting change so difficult?
I get bored. It's very difficult to continue something if you lose interest and get distracted.
So what can one do about it?
Reminders. You could have a system in advance to help when you meet those moments of disengagement. You could have a reminder set. I'm not very good at it, so I probably don't know.
What message would you give to the world?
To the world about keep trying. I think keep trying is the only way. We are doomed with our failures that can never be remedied. We're always going to get things wrong, so keep trying.
Ali, thank you very much.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure.
Thanks.
Tell us, why is lasting change so difficult?
It's so difficult, isn't it? I think for me, if I think about what stops me, maybe I'll go for a few days, I'll have an amazing revelation, and I'm like, okay, this is what needs to shift in my life, and yeah, I know exactly the step, and then I make the change, maybe it lasts a few days or a week, this, like a New Year's resolution, But I think for me, it's when times get a little bit tough and I fall back on my coping mechanisms, So I suppose that's my question to you. What are your coping mechanisms? So we all have them. Some are obvious. Some are, maybe someone's an alcoholic. They rely on alcohol to just numb the pain, or drugs, or maybe it's shopping, or maybe it's speaking to friends on the phone even, and distracting yourself from what you wanted to achieve, because that's comforting. I think those things that maybe, when we're in pain, we go to that comfort blanket, whatever that is for you. And I think that can get in the way. I mean, you have to be so strong to really stick through the hard times and stick with what we know that God is calling us to, or our higher self is made for, what is our purpose.
What message would you give to the world? What message would you give to the world?
I'm going in really close now. My message is persevere. I mean, we know what we need to change. You go to a psychotherapist, for example, you want answers from the psychotherapist. You want the therapist, the psychologist, the psychiatrist to tell you, okay, this is what you need to change. But actually, we all know the answers within ourselves.
Tell us, why is lasting change so difficult to achieve?
I think lasting change is so difficult to achieve because people are influenced by, it's by influence, and if it's not influence, it's habitual.
So what can one do about it?
You have to break the rhythm in each cycle, because everyone gets used to a certain way of living so that they can relax and be stress-free. For some people, being in that rhythm, even though it's destructive, it might be too hard for them to break that rhythm of influence or break that rhythm of habit. It could be drugs, it could be family abuse from someone in your family who you can't escape from, who is continually giving you a negative influence. I think you have to break that, or break it by you have to sever that trauma by either. It's really putting me off. You have to sever that trauma by either approaching the person that's in charge of that situation, or the person that's bringing it. And if you can't do that, then stepping away from it.
What message would you give to the world?
To the world?
Yeah.
Be braver. Be the one that isn't waiting for other people to make the changes that you wish would start to happen. Be a part of that process. Be a person who realizes they have a voice. Be a person who realizes that small part that they play, even if it's the flap of a butterfly wing, if you combine your efforts and energy and love with other people to overcome what's wrong and aim for what's right, then that will turn into a gust of wind and a hurricane for change. I really feel that's true, and I really feel that with strength comes from the very beginnings of love and community, and love and community, and people doing things together and trying to head out. This is so off-putting, sorry. Trying to put a sock in it. Trying to basically come together and support each other to help those changes happen.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.
Sorry about it.
Tell us, why is lasting change so difficult to achieve?
Well, as in sort of a New Year's resolution or anything like that? I suppose it's down to your mindset, really. If you've got a New Year's resolution of, say, I want to give up smoking or lose a little bit of weight, you've got to have sort of manageable goals. If you start, thinking big and giving yourself goals and targets that you know yourself already that you're not going to achieve, you've failed yourself already. But to just do maybe sort of little changes that what you can do, and then that'll be a bigger impact for you. Whether they fail them, I think is sort of a bit down to your mindset, really, of like sort of, I want to give up gambling and give up smoking. But them sort of temptations are absolutely everywhere. From your phone, everywhere, walking down the street, the temptation to gamble or smoke or do or drink or anything like that is always going to be there. So it's sort of definitely down to having a strong mind and having discipline, really, to getting yourself, giving you that strength to fulfill your goals, really.
So what can one do about it?
As I said, do manageable things that you know that you can handle. Sort of little things of, I'm not going to buy that coffee in the morning because that's going to save me some money. I'll have a coffee at home. Little things like that you can do, or sort of, I want to lose 3 stone in weight, but how about actually I want to lose 5 or 6 pounds, and that'll give you a greater confidence to carry on to eventually get that goal. But if you set yourself up big from the start, you could fail.
What message would you give to the world, Chris?
Just keep on going. Just keep on going. We're nearly through another half of the year. Love and peace.
Chris, as always, a pleasure. Thank you.
No worries.
Tell us, why is lasting change so difficult to achieve?
Well, lasting change is difficult to achieve because people change all the time. Like as you get older, you're never the same at 30 than when you were 20, and the same with 40 and 50. So people change all the time, so you never get lasting change. Things change, and then they change again, and then they change again.
So what can one do about it?
Well, I think people should accept it. People will always change. These people that say, when I married my husband at 20, and he's now 50 and he's a totally different person, that is normal. Everyone changes as they get older, and we should just accept that change and live with it.
What message would you give to the world, Nigel?
I'd say never be scared of change. It happens. Sometimes it's for the good, sometimes it's not so good, but we've got to live with it.
Nigel, thank you once again.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Tell us, why is lasting change so difficult to achieve?
Yeah, so change is something that happens whether we like it or not. From the moment that we're born, we start off as tiny tots, infants, then we grow to teenagers, to adults. So we're constantly having to adapt and change throughout our lives. And for some, that change is seamless, for others it's hard. So change, it comes to us whether we like it or not, I guess.
So what can one do about it?
So we have to try and adapt. The thing about change is it can be a positive thing and a negative thing. So if you're somebody who's striving for power in a political system and you get there, you're going to do everything you can to stay in power. So you're going to manufacture change to get to the top, and then you don't want anything to change when you get there. So that's the thing about change. It can work for you, it can work against you, and people can use it to manipulate other people.
So how can one change for the better, Tom?
Change for the better, I think sometimes, a lot of people, they have vices, whether it be alcohol, drugs, gambling. And I think that sometimes you get to a point where it's almost life-threatening or life-changing, and that's when a lot of people they adapt and they have to change. For example, a friend of mine, he was an alcoholic, and he nearly died. So he was hospitalised. It was touch and go whether he was going to live. And when he came through it, he hasn't drunk any alcohol since. So that was such a life-changing thing for him. To adapt and to survive, he had to give up the one thing that really he was addicted to. So that's how change can be good. But sometimes it's getting to a critical situation when you have to change, but it's better to do it gradually.
Tom, as always, a pleasure. Thank you. As we come to the end of this episode, and we've been talking about achieving lasting change, and they say nothing is constant but change, and every change brings a crisis. So life change begins with the truth. Life change begins in a community, and life change begins when we take action. Few things to remember, and that is, it really takes 66 days to make a habit automatic. Make one change at a time. For he who controls time controls life. Let go of the myth that you can have it all, and get involved in community. Get support from friends, family, and professionals. And Paul Tournier, a Swiss psychologist, puts it very beautifully when he says, he who would see himself clearly must open up to a confidant, freely chosen and worthy of such trust. Listen to the conversations of a world between nations as well as those of between couples. For the most part, they are the dialogues of the deaf. So we need to take action, set specific goals, get rid of things we don't need, and take a break from social media. And remember, always be proactive, not reactive. But the time is now. The time is right now to organize. So go for it and make the lasting change.